aqui com Sandra Izsadore, um dos nomes mais importantes do Afrobeat. Nada mais justo para a gente começar essa série de entrevistas de pessoas que inspiram a gente do que começar com ela. Ela é cantora, compositora, já foi militante dos Panteras Negras, foi a principal influência política na vida do Fela Kuti e viveu um período em Kalakuta. E Kalakuta foi uma comuna na Nigéria, onde viviam várias pessoas, entre familiares, musicistas que trabalhavam, que compunham com Fela e tocavam com Fela, ativistas políticos e refugiados políticos nos anos 70. Agora a gente vai falar com ela, a digníssima Sandra Izsadore. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Jasper, and really pleased to be speaking with you from Brazil, you know?
We are really excited to be talking to you today. It's a huge pleasure. We are so grateful for this opportunity to hear what you have to say, to finally meet you.
Yeah.
So thank you for accepting this invite.
Well, how could I turn down Funmilayo Afrobeat Orquestra? You girls are doing it, okay? So we have the power in Brazil, okay? I love what you women are doing there. Powerful.
Thank you so much. So talking about powerful, okay, as we know that you attended the Black Panthers party in the 60s, yeah? And that's when your political knowledge and Black consciousness started to evolve, yeah?
Yes, that's true.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as activists inside the movement? How was it for you? How did it start?
Well, here in America, when the Panther Party, when it came about, I lived in Los Angeles. The actual party started in Oakland. I wasn't involved in Oakland. In LA, I came in on the tail end of it. And I came in and was introduced to the Panther Party through my cousin Aubrey, you know, and at that time, I think I might have been 13 years of age.
Okay.
And that was my first awareness, and people were wearing fros, the women were wearing fros, and the men were in the black leather jackets and the berets. And I didn't really have a full understanding of it, but I wanted to be a part of it. So it was around that time that I started, you know, looking and listening. And this is also during the time that I became aware, you know?
You started so young.
Well,
yeah, 13 years of age. That's so young.
Well, actually, it was even before then, because at the age of 6 in America, my parents moved us into an all-white neighborhood.
Oh.
And when we moved into the all-white neighborhood, that was when I began to start to notice the difference. I noticed the differences. And I was also watching TV at that time. And at that time, television had no positive images of Black people. If it was a film in Africa, Tarzan was the hero and he was the ruler of the jungle. And, you know, I didn't see any positive images. And so it made me question. So actually from the age of 6, I started looking and you know, starting to compare apples and oranges.
Yeah.
You know? And that inquisitiveness, from that point, it just started to build. And then it, you know, it built to the point that, like I said, when the introduction to the Panther Party came through my cousin Aubrey. And that was some years later. And then from there, it just continued to grow. It continued to grow up until the point that I actually met Fela. And when I met Fela here in America, that's when I discovered that he did not have the knowledge, and he was African, because I thought an African would teach me about my cultural roots, not realizing what colonialism did in Africa is, to me, far worse than what slavery did in America.
So how did your musical path begin? How did it begin? How did your musical path begin? And when did your political views started to influence it? Were they always together? Was music always a political thing for you?
Oh, wow. You know, in my book, I write about this in my book, but since the book is already published and out, I'll tell you this. I think at the age of 5, I remember being at home and I was downstairs and I heard drums. Someone was drumming nearby, and whoever was drumming, I could hear these drums. And at the same time that I was hearing the drums, I saw my shadow on the wall. And I started dancing to my shadow to these rhythms. And it was like the drums were pulling this out of me, you know? And that was my first recollection of music and rhythm. And I was 5 years old then. But that's something that has stayed with me. I mean, it's very vivid in my imagination. Well, of course, my mom wanted me to be a pianist. And, you know, I was forced to take music lessons, and I had to be in playing the piano when other kids were outside playing. And I wanted to be outside playing too. I didn't want to be in practicing and rehearsing, because that's what music is about, a lot of rehearsing and practicing. So I wasn't disciplined like that. But music has always been a part of my life. And it just so happened that I got with the Sawaba African Dance Theater. And Juno Lewis was this American drum maker from Louisiana. Juno made drums. And his drum was the djembe. He loved playing the djembe. And I mean, when Juno would play, it's like you would go into trance. And it was through that dance group and through Juno Lewis that I met Fela.
After meeting Fela and having your so experienced first contact with an African man, you visited Nigeria for the first time and got the chance to learn about its culture and political conflicts up close, right?
I did. But then, you know, being young and everything coming to you at one time, it was cultural shock. I mean, it was so many things to absorb at once that I really didn't get it. And when I returned to Nigeria, I think maybe 2006, and when I saw Nigeria at that time, that's when I wrote the song entitled Nigeria. But then in 2015, the year that I met Vanessa, officially face to face, because I met her online before that. But we met face to face at the celebration.
Yeah.
It was at that time that my knowledge, knowledge continues to grow. And it was then that I saw, oh, baby, the pain of, for lack of knowledge, our people suffer. And it brought more clarity to what's happening in Africa today. And I mean, what colonialism did in Africa is horrific. And it's still happening, It's still happening. And our Black people, they are not aware. They're consciously unaware. And they turn to religion. And I'm not knocking religion, because I'm a spiritual person. Because I'm just going to say 3 books have been written. 3 books, original books, that was taken from the Asar set, from Egyptology. And out of that came the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. Each one of those books basically say the same thing. All you have to do is take comparative notes. They say the same thing. But from those 3 books, you have over 42,000 different religions today. And those religions have kept us enslaved, because the original African religion, they said, was no good. That is, the missionaries. So they brought us their religion, and it started with the missionaries and their religion. And I think it was Desmond Tutu who said this, but I want to quote. They told us to kneel and pray, and when we bowed our heads, they gave us the Bible and they took our land. Africa is still suffering today. And the suffering is bad, very, very bad. Especially when you put religion, tribalism, and nepotism into it. It's bad. It's real bad. I had to have been around 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
I had a friend that was a Catholic.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know all about Catholicism. I wanted to be a Catholic. I really did. I wanted to get into being a Catholic. Little kids, you want to be like your friends, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that was conflicting to me, because I know the scriptures that my parents had taught me, was about idol, the things to avoid in the 10 Commandments.
Your parents were Christians?
Yes. And
okay.
And in Christianity, they taught you that you should never have another God before the one God, and that you should never worship idols.
Yeah.
And I always had a problem with Catholicism because it always, they had all those statues and all the beads, and that part of it seemed kind of weird to me. And then I visited, and I went all through the Vatican City and took the tours and everything. And when I saw the riches in the Vatican, it confirmed to me that this is something I want to avoid.
Okay.
And then as I'm reading and studying, and taking scientific data, and when I started studying scientific data through anthropology, because that was another reason when I was in college, I thought I wanted to be an anthropologist, because I was in search of me and my roots, because we had been lied to. And that search for the truth, if you seek out truth, it'll definitely find you, So it was in this seeking and searching that I started to find out about alien knowledge and Roswell in America. And not only Roswell, but Area 54, and then all of the hieroglyphics. If you study the Egyptian hieroglyphics and things like that, you'll actually see etched in Egyptian pyramids from those hieroglyphics what looked like men in spacesuits. So when I saw that, now this is after I had gone back and wanted to fellowship in the church, right? And I had a great deal of respect for my minister. And he had his whole thing is he buys Bibles, and he does comparative study. So I went to him seeking answers. And when I went to him for him to bring some form of clarification to this, he brought more questions, because when I started telling him the things that I had read in the scriptures and how I was comparing it to scientific data, he presented me with more hieroglyphics. So my minister validated what I was already thinking. And now he was confirming to me that I wasn't on the wrong path, whether you want to believe it or not. And so even today, it's really scary as to the things that are going on in this world and what's happening right now, Jasper. Because what's happening in this world right now, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. I thought this would be something for my daughter and her children. I did not ever think that we would be where we are now, where the world basically is shut down globally. But at the same time, over 20 years ago, I remember people talking about the NWO. And I don't know if you're familiar with the acronym, the NWO, but that's the New World Order. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I've heard of it.
Okay, well, get ready. No, get ready, honey, get ready. Because, Jasper, we're speaking now, and you're in Brazil, I'm here in Los Angeles, and we're communicating.
Yeah.
And this is all done through the internet. And I was also taught that in the worst of lies, there's a little bit of truth. Because you cannot tell that lie without some truth being there too. So this is a time for all conscious people to wake up and start using discernment. Do not have blinders on. Do not be so convinced in your way that you can't hear what someone is saying. Because, like the scriptures say, even in from the mouths of babes come words of wisdom. So this is a very good time to be humble, and not only be humble, but listen to what others have to say and different perspectives. All you have to do is listen. And after you listen, then you go and use discernment for guidance. But we are in some crucial times right now. Crucial.
I want to ask you about the recent documentary that was released about Fela. Okay. My friend Fela, and I want you to tell us a little bit about what you thought of participating in it and what you thought about the results.
Well, I think, first of all, it was a very good film. I must say, it was a very good film, because, as you know, it's a Brazilian producer who put the film together with Carlos Moore. And I mean, the film is very interesting, and I like the music. I love the way the film was done. But I have a problem with that film, and this one person, I think Babatunde Bajoke, I think that's his name. I never met him, but I did live in Kalakuta. I did live in the Kalakuta Republic. And I did know and observe the way the house ran. And first of all, more than that, I knew Fela and the type of person Fela was. And one thing that I can say about Fela and Fela Kuti, the man when I first met him was Fela Ramsey, was a very kind, compassionate individual. I mean, Fela was not, even like Bob Marley, they were not looking for riches and grandeur. They weren't trying to live, the bomb V. Fela believed in equality, and I know this because he liked to be with his people. So for the film to try to portray him as a tyrant, I have to disagree with that. Now, I do know this, that if you came into Fela's house and if you were disrespectful in other countries, anywhere in Africa and India, if you don't abide by the rules, you will get beat. That I do know. So for them to try to say he was a tyrant, I disagree with that totally. And I also think that it was personal. It was something personal that happened between Carlos Moore and Fela, and I talked about that in my book. And one thing I can say, yes, I do believe Fela possibly may have had some severe mental anxiety because the army did kill his mother. They threw her from a second-story balcony. Now, I don't know any person in their right mind who would have a mother or a father, and not only the mother, but if you knew some of those women, my friend Aduni died. When you see people, things like that happen to people, and all you ever wanted to do is to bring awareness, and your own government treats you like this. This is traumatizing. This is traumatizing. So yes, I'm sure Fela went through some mental anguish. And he probably needed to talk to a psychologist. I know I have. It ain't no shame in my game. Yeah. So at some point in our life, we all probably need that. But to try to paint him as a pedophile tyrant, I disagree. I never witnessed any of that. And like I said, I lived in the house in Africa, and he lived with me and my family here in America. We never saw any of that. So for someone from the outside to come and make these allegations against Fela, I disagree, and I'm standing here saying they're liars, and they're doing it for self-gratification and self-gain.
So since we're talking about Kalakuta and your experience there, so how was your experience there, and what marked you the most during those times you were staying there?
The unity, Black unity in one compound, and where everybody in Kalakuta had a job. And everybody did their job to make sure that Kalakuta functioned well. The alliance and the sisterhood of living with the other women, even though it was in the bathroom, it was community bathing, where the women would get together, we would bathe together, we talked, we bathed together, we cooked together, we did these things, we had these discussions. And, I never knew about clitoral ectomy until the women came to my room one day, and they asked me if this was something that happened in America. The removal of a woman's clitoris. I had never heard of anything like that. I also speak about it in my book. So living in Kalakuta was a beautiful experience, and I'm very thankful to the Most High God for allowing me that spiritual experience. It's not everyone that can say, I just feel like everything has been by divine intervention, because I sought out and went in search of truth. Many things have been revealed to me, and I was able to cross the path of Bob Marley and cross the path. Well, first Fela and then Bob. Fela was the political cross, and with Bob Marley, it was and all of this came about from the early childhood beginnings, from Dr. Martin Luther King and Black folks in the back room whispering and trying not to let the children know what was going on, because I know my parents hid from me. Racism was hidden from me. It wasn't until we moved into the all-white neighborhood that these things started to unfold, because my parents had never taught me hatred and racism, so I didn't know it. And it was, those early beginnings and coming on up and having the experience of the Muslim, first the Los Angeles civil disturbance that they called the LA riot, and it went from there to the Muslims here in Los Angeles. It was the Black Muslims, and we used to go to the temple, and from the temple to the Panther Party, and from the Panther Party to starting to go to underground meetings. And in those underground meetings, they were teaching us, because we sure wasn't going to get it at the regular school. And they're still not teaching truth, even to this day. And, you know, after visiting Brazil, and I want to thank Vanessa and the women of Brazil I'm telling you, women in Brazil are incredible. I mean, you're different. You're different, you're strong. And if I have to say so, I saw hundreds, thousands of Sandra Izsadores there. Very powerful women, you know?
I'm so glad to hear that. I got lost. I got emotional.
Well, you know what? You shouldn't get emotional behind the truth. And then on top of all of that, I guess you girls said, well, wait a minute. Let us show her. Let us show, not only are we political and are we fighters, but let's show her what we can do with the music too. And I mean, when you did the cover version of Greedy Rulers, I was like, oh my God, these women. And, you know, doing Fela songs, I mean, you girls are incredible. It's, you know, and it's so unfortunate that the world is where it is now. And it's like you shut down the entertainment industry because this is such a powerful time, you know, for the women in entertainment. Please don't stop playing. You girls stick together. Whatever you do, stick together. You know, I don't care how much fighting you may do in the background or how much disagreeing you do. Please stick together for the music because you bring knowledge. You bring knowledge through music. Whoa. Yeah.
We are.
I'm emotional now.
We are all on the same page. Since we're talking about what's happening right now in the music industry, and you talk about us bringing knowledge, so what are you seeing from Afrobeat nowadays? What do you know about Afrobeat nowadays? And if you think that there's something, the political part has changed or something has improved, what do you know and what do you think about the Afrobeat genre being played nowadays?
Well, what they call Afrobeat today, just like what they call reggae, is a diluted version that a lot of the best word I can think of right now is just fuckery, you know? It's not real hardcore knowledge. It's, you know, you give people a good beat, but you're not feeding their minds. You're just talking some foolishness. And the foolishness that what I call foolishness, okay, you might have the Afrobeat rhythm, but all you're talking about is your brand new car or your new gold chain or how much you in love with this woman and you want to go sleep with her or vice versa. Where's the knowledge? Where's the food for thought? Tell me something I don't know. Teach me. I want to be taught. I want to be taught. I know there's some nice rhythms out there, you know. I love me some Burna Boy. I like Wizkid, Davido. And I love Niniola and Tiwa Savage. But they're not giving me any knowledge. They're giving me a good beat, you know, and I can dance and party. And I love the videos, but where's the knowledge? One Day Co, I love him too. But where's the knowledge? There's no knowledge.
Speaking about knowledge, and since you are known as the woman who brings knowledge and searches for knowledge, and grows from knowledge. Can you tell us some of the women that inspired you the most, who brought you this knowledge from up close or even from afar, that you got to live with and learn about and keep learning about your Black consciousness and all the things that brought you to who you are today?
That first woman was
Yeah.
here in America. Besides my mother, when we talk of music, that would be Nina Simone. And if you want to go back, you know, to the blues, it was Big Mama Thornton and Bessie Smith. But coming forward, Nikki Giovanni, you know, the poet. Of course, Maya Angelou. You know, these women were women that were poets and writers and musicians. My first African woman, of course, was Miriam Makeba, you know, and I've always been, I don't know, I've been drawn to Africa. While everybody else was listening to R&B here in America, I was trying to listen to African rhythm. So, you know, I guess I've been a little lost. I haven't been like the rest of my generation. Well, there's others like me.
Yeah.
But I've always been a little bit in the other direction. When everybody was headed north, I was headed south.
That's how knowledge grows from you. Yeah, always searching.
Yeah, you know, around 2006, when I went back, at that time, my husband was doing audio engineering.
Okay.
And he was working with Snoop Dogg at the time.
Okay.
And Snoop and Jay-Z and Beyonce, they were all going to Nigeria. And my husband was going too for the first time. And I said, oh no, you're not going without me. So that's when I went back. And it was like, oh, I mean, I was somewhat devastated when I went back. Because, yeah, I saw a more, you know, when you look at the facade of Nigeria, oh, yeah, it was a prettier place on the outskirts. But once you went in, then the truth was coming out. You saw the real truth. So it was Philly who brought it to my. And, you know, I was telling Femi, I said, oh, Femi, you know, things have, he said, Sandra, you just saw the facade. He said, go behind the facade. And I did. And then going behind the facade is where the truth lies. Because, you know, you can paint a pretty picture and you can have a pretty picture up front. But what's behind, or look behind the curtain? What's behind it? And it was a rude awakening. That's all I have to say. It was a rude awakening.
Your album, What Nigeria, was written after that. Was it about all the things you saw? Did you inspire after that? Yeah?
Yeah, you know, although, you know, it's just, you know, basically I'm just saying how Nigerians, they fail to listen. And even right now, one of them would be ready to decapitate me, you know, for the things that I said, that I will continue to say, because I believe in speaking truth to power. And, you know, they still have that old mindset and the tradition. Now, I have a lot of respect for tradition, and I love tradition, but not when tradition takes you to the point of stupidity. You will allow certain things because you don't want to offend your elder. Or, you know, if you see me, like I said, I'm that adult, and I pray that I will always be that adult with an open mind. If a 3-year-old comes and tells me something, I'm going to take the time to listen to the child. There may be some point that child is going to make. I don't know everything. But in the African culture, there's this thing of secrecy, which was something that America, my parents were of the secret society. You know, they've labeled each one of us. There was the secret society. I'm a baby boomer. Then there was Generation X. And from Generation X to the millennium, you know? And it seems to me these millennials are just as clueless. I mean, it's like, I don't know. But my parents, they held secrets. Even to this day, my cousin Muffy, who's 93 years of age, and she still have her mental faculty, she's still cooking, she's still doing, but when you ask her certain things about things that were going on in the family that were corrupt and wrong, she don't want to talk about it. She will not discuss that with you. I love your lighting. I like the way the lighting is falling on your face.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's like a painting that I have of Fela. One side of your face is very light and the other side is very dark.
It has a poetical meaning. Last year, yeah, you actually already mentioned, but last year you released your book, Fela and Me. What drove you to write specifically about this relationship and share it with the world?
The reason why I wanted to write the book, because several documentaries had been done where with Fela, and they talk about me. People had written about me in magazine articles, and then they did the Broadway musical, which was like, I felt violated when they never came to me and say, Sandra, how do you feel about us doing this documentary? What, you know, not documentary, but this musical on Broadway. It was never discussed. My husband, Byron McNeish, who is on his way to Dubai, he happened to have a stopover in New York and saw flyers that was being circulated saying Fela on Broadway. And he said, did you know about this musical? I said, I didn't know anything about it. So it was a total violation. But in the end, I put my pride to the side, because what happened was more people, especially the New York Tony Award and musical and play going people, Broadway, they were able to see something real and something raw. And it was the critics who brought Fela to the forefront. And I watched that go down too, Jasper. I watched how they manipulated in the history of Broadway. Broadway has always allowed the critics to vote for the best musical. This was the 1 year, 2010 was the 1 year they were not allowed to vote. They made the critics sit out. So this suck and I'm going to say it, this suck-ass Broadway musical called Tennessee could get Best Musical. I mean, it was so boring, but, you know, no, it was so boring. They did not want Fela. They did not want it to win because it was too black, it was too raw, and it was too real. And white, gay, and I'm going to say it, gay America could not stand it. Because if you know who runs the entertainment industry, they're white, and most of them are gay. They run that part. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I have no problem with anyone's sexual preference. But when it comes to Broadway and Hollywood, it's usually racist gays that run it. I said racist gays.
Was there any representations or movies, documentaries, or even any kind of books that was written about Fela that was written and mentioning you, that it was actually accurate or that respect you some kind of way?
The very first book, there's only one book that had inaccuracies, where in that book they said Fela raped me, and that came from Mac Tonto. I mean, it was said that Mac Tonto said, but that's not true. Fela never raped me. And, you know, I was underage. They said I was underage at the time that he raped me, but that's not true. Carlos Moore's book was the first book that was written about Fela. And that book is based upon interviews, direct quotes from myself, from Fela, from the wives. These things that where Carlos Moore interviewed us, like kind of like what we're doing right now. So those books were accurate. Now, all these other books, and I'm telling you, there's several books out there about Fela, and a lot of the books, they mention me, but those people don't know me. They don't know me. Carlos Moore, yes. As a matter of fact, it was Fela who introduced me to Carlos Moore. And at one point, Carlos Moore and Fela had a disagreement and a falling apart. And that's why I said this film was done. My friend Fela, which should have been more like my enemy Fela, you know, but anyway, I'll leave it.
So you released this book then to tell your truth.
Yes, and then, you know, even in my, you would be surprised at when you cry and take a side in Nigeria. You have the Yorubas, you have the Hausas, you have the Fulani, you have the, what is it, Igbos. You have these different ethnic groups. And do you know that there's prejudice? These are all Black people. But would you believe there's prejudice among Black people against Black people? And prejudice to the point that they're going to take your life. I didn't know that. I always believed in Pan-Africanism, unity. And the one thing that I can say that makes us different, and when I say us, you and I, see, when they put us in them slave ships, they didn't care whether you were king, queen, servant, pauper. They didn't care whether you could communicate with each other or not. But one thing it created was an alliance. We knew we had to stick together for survival. That's the difference with us and what's happening in Africa today, because they have that division of tribalism and religion, tribalism, religion, and nepotism. And in all of those religions over there, it's the women had no rights. And we won't even talk about the Sharia law, you know? The things that I have seen done to women, you know, for what they considered a violation. It's a travesty. It's a travesty.
I wanted to ask you one final question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, in your time in Kalakuta, did you meet Funmilayo Kuti and the African women? What did you learn with them? What kind of bond did you have with them? What did you learn the most?
As a matter of fact, not only did I meet Funmilayo Ransom Kuti, but Fela took me to her home in Abeokuta, and I stayed there with her for about a week. So I got a chance to see how the African women live. And one of the things, you know, that I learned from the African women is the unity amongst women. You know, there were a couple of what can I call them, thorns in the mix, just a couple. But those two, it was mainly due to their insecurity. But there was a camaraderie. You know, just having that unity amongst women that were lifting each other up with the hair, the clothing, the makeup, you know, not that jealousy and backbiting. We're there to build and uplift instead of tear down. And that was one of the things that I liked in the Kalakuta Republic, that these women taught me that. And even though they were, you know, they were all wives, I don't know, maybe they were, that's part of their culture to have, for a man to have multiple wives, you know? But they did this and they did it in unity. I mean, it's not for me because I was reared in monogamy, right? And there's certain things that, you know, I want to keep mine monogamous. There's certain things I don't like sharing, and especially now with everything that's out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this right here is God's temple. You know, I like to keep my temple clean.
Thank you so much. We are so thrilled.
It's been nice talking to you. And just keep up the good music, girl. Just keep sending me those videos with Vanessa dancing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I hope someday we can collaborate.
Yeah, okay. I would love that. You know, my husband is one of the top audio engineers in this country. He's got quite a list of A-listers, you know? So right now, Migos is one of his clients now, and another client that keeps him pretty busy is Akon, you know, and I love what Akon is doing in Africa.
That's so amazing. We're really looking forward to this, to keep Afrobeat alive and to keep it growing, to keep it truthful, like you taught us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you know, anytime, and I'm saying this, anytime you need any help with music, you know, if there's something we can do, and especially now, being that everyone is sheltered in place, keep creating the music. If you need help with the sound, you know, putting it together, remember, Byron McNeish is right here, okay?